Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
This from the Yates Flooring Center chat line. I was told the GA is sold out too for season tickets. I tried to buy some at the Lady Raider games. Yeah, I mean, there were plenty of seats available yesterday at the arena. Plenty of seats. It's disappointing. I mean, because you had created this atmosphere, especially with the student section. I mean, they were kind of looked empty there too. I mean, behind the basket, it was good. And I realized, hey, people are going to say, well, they got finals, Chuck. Well, you know what? There have been other years when they had finals too, and they found time to figure it out, to go over to the arena. But
yeah, I'm not trying to be angry with anybody about it. I mean, I get how college basketball works, and I get
right. I'm with you.
You play some challenging games on the road, and these money games in the Bahamas, or if we'd have had the Big 12 Big East Challenge at home this year, it would have been great.
Yeah.
But it's just, and I'm not angry with fans who don't want to go watch the same story over and over again, which is beat down. Okay.
Yeah.
You do that 2 or 3 times in non-conference play, and I think you're doing your part and all that good stuff, but it's hard to get up for these kind of
every
games.
night.
Yeah. And so, I'm not feeling like our attendance won't be awesome when it comes to important games. I think it will be.
Yep.
And when I say important games, I say all Big 12 games, all that good stuff. Just right now, I think and I'll even couple it together with the Lady Raiders. It's just like everyone's just like, hey, here comes another Patsy. Here comes another Patsy. I mean, it's supposed to be entertaining, and when you know it's going to be blowout,
right,
you're like, okay, I saw what I need to see. Looks like we're going to roll here, and now it's like, meh.
That's kind of what I did last night. I mean, I was like, okay, I want to just kind of get an early, read on this.
I've said plenty of times before, hey, you come to watch your team, not the other team.
Sure,
I totally get that.
Yeah,
it's I don't know. Again, I'm not angry with anybody about it. I understand it's the way of college basketball, and I understand that most teams across the country are doing the same thing, unless you are, big time program that gets home and aways with the top dogs, and
even those aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Last night in college basketball in the Big 12, Marquette, ranked 8th in the country, beat them down 86-65. And that was a Big East Big 12 battle. So the former coach schooled him last night, Shaka Smart.
Good.
Yeah, so good for Shaka. And backyard brawl last night in Morgantown, the Coliseum. Pittsburgh wins over West Virginia 80-63. Also last night, UCF played Jacksonville. That makes sense. I mean, that's state schools playing each other.
Sure.
That makes some sense. 94-52, UCF won that one, and then number 3 Houston, and this makes sense. They played a crosstown school in Rice. They beat them down 75-39. And that was a foregone conclusion, I'm sure, going into that game.
The Houston team's talented, no doubt.
Now, here's an interesting matchup for tonight in the Big 12, and Iowa State is favored by 6.5, and it's a 6:30 tip time. Iowa and Iowa State will play tonight.
That's fun.
Yeah, that is fun. And it makes sense. Obviously, I mean, you got one in the Big 10 and one in the Big 12, and they're playing each other, so that makes tons of sense. So,
but I thought we were losing all of the rivalries with college realignment.
Well, we've lost a ton of them, like almost all of them.
Yeah, well, some of that, Jeff, is the schools being stubborn and they could still play in other sports, especially football and basketball and baseball allows you that opportunity to still do that with plenty of non-conference games. Football, it's way more challenging in that regard.
Yeah. Although Iowa and Iowa State play each other every year because they decided it was important to keep playing.
Well, they never were in the same conference.
Right.
They didn't realignment. They weren't realigned apart. I don't know. Maybe 100 years ago they're in the same conference.
No, they've never been in the same conference.
Yeah.
They've never been in the same.
They didn't
conference.
get realigned apart. They've always been apart.
Yeah, one's always been in the Big Ten. One was always been in the Big 12 or Big 8 or whatever. All right, Texas Tech making some adjustments to its. Speaking of, keeping traditions alive, Texas Tech is making, it looks like, a change in their schedule for next year. Tech was scheduled to go to Oregon. It's not done yet, but it looks like it's almost done. That instead of going to Oregon, you go to Washington State. And this was an ask by Oregon so that they could keep their rivalry alive with Oregon and Oregon State. So they had to get Tech involved, Boise State involved, and Washington State involved. Your take on that? You good with that?
I'm good with that. I'm not up in arms with it. I would be up in arms if we lost the home game with Oregon. That would be really disappointing to me. Obviously, I think Washington State is most likely a more winnable game.
Sure.
It's not a Big Ten school, which would have been cool to see us playing against a Big Ten team or a Pac-12, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to call Washington State Mountain West. I have no idea what they're going to be doing. So I guess it's not ideal, but at the same time, if we're going to sit around whining about rivalries going away and all that stuff, I don't know that we should be the one that these two teams are trying to make it work. And I don't mind us helping out a little bit. I sure hope we got something in return.
We got $100,000.
$100,000?
Yeah. We got $100,000 in return.
Okay.
So the thing that go
to the baseball program?
Sure. Sure. Well,
and we got our home game.
And that's the most important thing, Jeff. You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
We got our home game. Yeah. We got our home game.
Yeah, no, so I'm not up in arms over it. I mean,
the only thing
I think a lot of fans are, but
you think their fans are up in arms over it?
Yeah, I mean, if I was planning on going to the game and I was going to go see, Oregon's awesome stadium and the atmosphere and all that, I'd be disappointed that I was heading to Washington State instead, or I might not go. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would be disappointed. I get it. Not the most ideal situation.
Yeah. So
but for me, who was just going to watch it on TV, either way.
Right. Yeah. That's not a game that I was intending on going to. So the way that this is going to work is, according to the AJ's article and their discussions with Kirby Hocutt, Tech now will go to Oregon in 2033. Okay. And Washington State will come to Lubbock in 2032 if everything works out. And here's my question on that is why? What? I mean, I understand that you've got to schedule out, but it sure seems to me like scheduling out to 32 and 33 is putting handcuffs on the future people who will be making those decisions. I mean,
you're suggesting Kirby Hocutt will not be around then?
Yeah,
it's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I know.
And I would say, you know what? I hope he is, because that means things have gone swimmingly well. And I hope Joey McGuire is here in 2032, because that means things have gone swimmingly well.
I don't know that it puts handcuffs on him. I think that if that was a new AD that came in 2 years before that or whatever, he'd be happy that part has already been put in place.
Well, the other thing,
I don't think you can do year to year.
No, I know.
And I know 8 years is more than year to year.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there, but I think you have to do some of that.
My only other thought was, and this was my primary thought on this, is with the changing landscape of college football, can we really honestly say things that are set for 20, 30, 31, 32, 33 are going to be as they are?
No, you can't, but that doesn't mean that you don't do anything and don't make any plans for the future. Like,
and it's like, hey, Wally, what are we going to do next year? I don't know, George.
Yeah.
Who are we going to, who do you want to play?
There's no guarantee that it's going to be that way, but that doesn't mean we just sit on our hands and say, we'll see if somebody blows into town for a game.
We'll see what the circus brings in. See if they've got some guys that can help out. Get the clowns off, right?
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We got some more portal news, Jamie, yesterday, as J.J. Sparkman enters the portal, Loic Fouonji enters the portal, and Jaden York enters the portal. Man, it seems like all the receivers are exiting. I mean, they didn't have the greatest year because Jerand Bradley's already announced that he's going, and Miles Price. So four guys, in the receiver group that you thought, certainly Bradley, the lead dog there, but all those guys you thought were going to be big contributors, and they really were not at all.
Yeah, I thought Lowe had a chance to. That's the one I hate the most, just because he's a local kid.
Sure.
Yeah, hate to see him go. So there's questions for you.
Yeah, right.
Right? Is this Tech cleaning house with their wide receivers because they're frustrated with them, or is this all the wide receivers saying, "Hey, man, this isn't a good place to be a wide receiver"?
I'm frustrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated. We're all frustrated, so we're all just because
we were all frustrated with the wide receivers.
Yeah. You would have just thought that of one of those four that they would have gone, "Oh, here's an opportunity for me," because. And I realize they play different positions, so
sure.
I understand that. But you would have thought maybe one of them would go, "Oh, here's an opportunity for me now that this guy's gone, so I'm going to stay."
Goodness, who do we have left at the wide receiver position? Jordan Brown, who we just gave a scholarship to, right?
Yep.
Dre McCray's graduated, correct?
No, I think he's got another year.
He's got another year.
I think he's got another year. I'm going to look that up.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you just go, okay, who's going to catch the ball? I mean, so maybe you got
Michael Hudson going to catch every pass.
He's going to come in, but I mean, he's going to be a freshman. I mean, you kind of look at that and go, well, I mean, certainly hope that you can make a contribution, but man, you've got your bowl game coming up. So how does that affect things?
We may be going option for the bowl game. Going to run the beer.
Yeah. Run the
okay,
Wildcat.
So obviously Coy Aiken, right?
Yeah, he's back. He'll be back.
So Price, Bradley, and White, they led you in receptions this year. Okay. They're gone. All gone.
Mm-hmm.
Aiken's back. Dre McCray, you're checking on that one.
Yeah.
Jordan Brown would be next. Your guy Mason. Baylor Cup is out of eligibility, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, I hate that. Fungi gone. Jaden York leaving. Sparkman leaving. Brady Boyd. Didn't get much out of him last year.
Yeah, Dre McCray was just a junior this year.
Okay, awesome.
So
awesome.
He's probably got 6-7 years left.
And
by the time you look at all that.
Martinez.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone too. So
yeah, they moved. And Jaden York's gone. Kind of wonder if he was. Hey, you can still do this, but it's just not going to be here. And that's what you wonder. How many of those conversations? And in fairness,
of the 15 guys that caught a pass for you last year, 2 that were running backs, and if you count Martinez, 3, 9 of them are going to be gone.
Yeah. So Dre McCary's back. Brady Boyd Brady Boyd will be back. He's a junior.
I wonder if Jaden York, who is more of a tight end, if he saw the writing on the wall with the new guy the junior college guy that they just brought in. Yeah, and I don't know what to say about Jaden York. It felt like he kind of put Coach McGuire in
a bad spot.
With his little spitting incident there at BYU. So
that's why I'm wondering if they're like, hey, it might be best for you to go somewhere else.
I guess I would say that, except why did it take so long then? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they do that
immediately
to this?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying immediately, but maybe at the end of the season when it feels a little late for him.
Well, the portal just opened for these guys that haven't graduated.
Yeah, but I would guess they would have had conversations before now.
Yeah, where he could have. And they list Nehemiah Martinez now as a wide receiver.
Okay.
So, but he barely played this year. You got Hayden Whittington. But yeah, I mean, and you're going to lose Xavier White because he was a super senior this year. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's kind of.
I'm really excited about Coy Aiken. I think he's going to be a really good player for you. Mm-hmm. So. I'm not going to act like I'm worried about it or devastated by any of the news. I just can't get over how disappointing as a group the receivers were this year.
Yeah.
Not just catching the ball, separating, blocking, it was rough. It was rough. And we've come to expect each and every year, a new group of receivers, all right, they'll make plays.
Yes.
New group of receivers, they'll make plays.
Yes. That's kind of been in your DNA, no matter who the head coach has been.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like, what happened there? Why didn't that work out? And
instead of being in your DNA, it was a DNP. Did not perform. Did not play.
Okay. Mm-hmm. DOA is what it was. It was like DOA, man. It's like, where are you guys? I get this.
Imagine Texas Tech football having a season that you didn't have a 100-yard receiver the whole year.
I know.
At Texas Tech.
Where's that bet, right? That's the craziest thing of the whole deal. It's like not one game did you have a guy go.
Yeah. But not many times have you had a dominant running back like you had this year either.
True.
You've had good backs.
True.
And I mean, you've had really good backs, but you really relied on the run, especially the second half of the season.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like that almost became your only option because that's all that was working. Mm-hmm. Was to give the ball to Taj.
Yeah, it's not like we didn't try to throw to these receivers. They had lots of drops. They couldn't get open.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like they didn't get opportunities.
Right. No, it didn't seem like they provided, despite the fact that you had, quarterback injuries and arm injuries and things like that, you're still allowed to catch the balls that are thrown right to you or to try to help the quarterback out and get open. Hey, what can I got to help this guy out a little bit because he can't throw the ball as far downfield as he used to be able to. So I got to make sure my routes are sharp, or I get away from my guy, or I get off the line, or
or hey, I'm going to figure out how to beat press coverage at some point this year.
Yeah, yeah. How about this quarterback going into the portal transfer? And I get it. But it's interesting. Gunnar Gundy is going to leave Oklahoma State, and he'll go into the transfer portal as a graduate transfer.
I would assume he's going to go try to play at some lower level where he can play.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. He chose to walk on at Oklahoma State, didn't see significant action until this past year. 4 games, completed 19 passes, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns, played in 3 games this season. 2022, and then played in 3 games this season, 21 passes, 202 yards, and a touchdown.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
We've kicked around the Tech schedule change, proposed schedule change with Washington State next year instead of Oregon. Meanwhile, here in the great state, Texas and Oklahoma have announced a continuation of their series at the Cotton Bowl. The Cotton Bowl has promised $140 million in renovations. I mean, I guess they use that thing for soccer, and that one football game sure seems like an awful lot of money to put into it.
Sure does.
The last time that I was in the Cotton Bowl was a Tech Baylor game, and Tech won, and I walked out there and I'm like, okay, finally, I don't have to come back here anymore. I finally have seen a win. It was like a regular season game at the end of the state fair when Tech was trying to do that with Baylor. It was awful then. I can't imagine what it's like now. And they vowed to put money into the concession stands and the bathrooms, which were the biggest complaints because it looked like 1950 still. So at any rate, these renovations are scheduled to be completed by September of 2026. That's the west side. The east side will be finished by September of 2034. 2034. So we'll have already played our game at. We'll have already hosted Washington State by then, but the Cotton Bowl is going to be done in 2034.
Okay, that's great.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, these guys are working like banshees over here, Jones Stadium, to try to finish the South End by next year, and they're doing $250 million in 2 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're basically working around the clock.
Jeff, do you love how Chuck calls everybody banshees?
I've noticed that, yes. It's hard not to. And why are they like the peak of work?
The peak of effort, the peak of excitement, the peak of, anything. It's banshees.
Banshees.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like maybe he wishes our mascot was the banshees. Yeah. Then they'd be at the peak.
I'll see if I can come up with another.
You sell like a banshee today, Chuck. I
do too. I've got a lunch appointment, so hopefully that goes swimmingly well like yesterday's. Mm-hmm. And then I got one tomorrow too. That's selling season, Jamie. Of course, some would say it always is, Chuck.
Yeah, maybe so.
Some would say that. The Cotton Bowl needs to be updated and kept. Football traditions are dying. We don't need another one to die. Okay, well, I'm somewhat with you on that, but man, they have certainly missed the boat on that. So I saw this last night too, and I don't believe this is going to happen. I think this is just, I don't know what the true reasoning for it was, but the Orange Bowl canceled its scheduled press conference with Florida State coach Mike Norvell and Georgia coach Kirby Smart. The reason has not been revealed, but fans and analysts think that Florida State's going to boycott the Orange Bowl because of their snub of the college football playoff. They're calling this the "We Don't Want to Be Here Bowl." There's a lot to be said for that.
They're about to get just tore up because they're spending way too much time on this stuff and not thinking about football.
Someone else said, a fan quoted in this Athlon Sports article, "This is so incredibly dumb if they're actually boycotting the game. Cancel the entire thing, LOL. Both teams are so over it." You know what it reminds me of? These teams like Georgia and Florida State. I think those that'd be maybe the two teams. Do you think anybody else just feels wronged? I don't think so. I think those are the two that just feel the most wronged.
Florida State and who else?
And Georgia, I'm sorry.
I haven't heard much from Georgia folks.
Yeah. I haven't either, but I mean, and there's some Ohio State folks that maybe...
I think they're definitely good enough to win the national championship, Georgia.
Yeah. But I guess what this game feels like to me is when they used to play the consolation game in the Final Four. You know, and I think the last one of those that was played was either in 84 or 85. But it was like such a meaningless game. And that's what this Orange Bowl feels like. It feels like just what are we playing for here? You got players transferring and leaving and portal and all that other kind of stuff, and it's like who's left? Would you rather see the portal stuff? I mean, it's complicated, but would you rather see that after January 1, or does it really matter at this point in time? Or
would I rather see the semifinals?
No. The portals. What the portal entry? Would you rather see that like date after the bowl games?
Yes, I would. I would.
And
there can be no communication with other schools before that.
Because when you have the 12-team playoff next year, obviously those games are going to mean a lot more than right now. Because right now, with the exception of the college football semifinal games and the national championship game, the games are relatively meaningless, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're relatively meaningless.
Yeah,
I mean,
kind of exhibition games.
They're kind of, and teams are going to want to finish strong and maybe get some younger players some practice time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, a chance for like Texas Tech to finish above 500 and be able to say that and put that on your resume. And you're not throwing any parades or parties or anything like that. No confetti in the air for that. But it will be interesting next year at this time when you have 12 teams that are, quote, still in it. And I do believe that you'll see upsets. I do believe you might see, you know, a 12 seed not necessarily get all the way to the national championship game, but maybe win a game or two, or a 10 seed or something like that.
Absolutely possible.
Yeah,
sure.
Especially with how injuries go and things like that. So that would be something I would love to see, is that for it to be maybe pushed back a little bit. The thing is, though, is you're bringing in kids, you're recruiting kids, and kids are going to naturally want to leave, and then they got to get enrolled for the next semester. So I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah, and then they need time to figure all that out.
Yeah, it's complicated. So the other thing I wonder is, do the guys that left, do they see now the stuff on social media of what the bowl swag is of the guys that are staying? Like, I saw some stuff on social media last night of what one of the things that Texas Tech was getting, and was I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just remember it being cool.
Oh, and here's one of my big beefs.
Okay.
Is that these programs will still take the kids that aren't playing.
The portal kids? The kids that are going
No, not portal kids, but guys that say, I'm not going to play to prepare for the draft.
Yeah.
And they'll still take them and get all the rewards.
Yeah.
Just not play.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts.
Okay. What if he's a really, really good kid?
And then the broadcasters on ESPN will spend all sorts of time talking about the guy. Mm-hmm. They'll show his stats over there on the sideline, wearing all of his bowl swag, and we'll talk about him more than the kid who actually is on the field playing.
Yeah.
You don't remember me going off about this last year?
No, I do.
Frustrated the heck out of me. Yeah.
It looks like one of the things that the Tech guys could have gotten was 17-inch Blackstone griddle, which is pretty cool. I don't know how many of them cook like that, but that's pretty cool. That's something I wouldn't mind having, I think.
Ask Coach McGuire if he's going to use his.
Can I have your Blackstone griddle? This reminder, and it's true. Everyone forgets the ACC commissioner voted against the 12-team playoff starting this year. Yeah. Yeah, and he probably had help with that vote from athletic directors and presidents of the said ACC. Yep. Probably just didn't make that on his own. Probably had some input on that. Nah, we don't need to do that.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's question of the day on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
All right, gentlemen, here's my question for you today. I might be a little bit early on this, but I don't think there's anything that's going to happen the rest of the year that would change your answer. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe a big win over Oral Roberts will be huge. I want you to tell me your favorite Texas Tech win of 2023.
So you could go back to like January.
You could. You absolutely could.
My favorite win of 2023.
Well, I feel like there's some things we can eliminate.
Okay.
Most of the men's basketball season, because they didn't have many wins.
There was a good stretch there, partway through towards the end of January, wasn't it, that you were rolling? Mm-hmm. It was fun.
I mean, you were 9-1. You were 1-9 in conference, and that usually starts right around January. So, I mean, you might be right. I don't know that it was fun once we got that stretch there, because we kept waiting for Fardaws to come back.
Oh my God!
And that was so like you can eliminate most of the basketball season as something to think about.
Fardaws and Jay Samaro, we're still waiting on both those guys to come back.
Well, Jay's actually played for you, so
and then got himself kicked out of the bowl game upon his return.
Right.
I also feel like, I guess maybe you put TCU in football in this category. Do we want to stick with the main four, or do we want to go all Tech sport?
You can pick whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Then I've got to go any of the Tech soccer wins in the NCAA tournament, because each one of those was great. It was nail-biting. They were down to the line, and there was something on the line for all of those. it wasn't a legitimate chance for them to keep advancing in a possible national championship for how good they've been this year. They by far had the best season of anybody in the last year. And those games being at home in front of that crowd, I'd go with those as a collective unit.
All right, I'm going to go back to January the 18th because I'm terrible at this game. I'm sure there's going to be something where somebody goes, "Hey, what about that game?" Because it was fun just to beat them at home, and this is a Lady Raider win over number 25 Texas, 68-64. And given what had happened last year, the previous year at Texas, a little dust up at the start of the third quarter with Coach Garlick and Vic Schaefer. But that was a fun night. 68-64 Lady Raider win on January the 18th.
That was the night that Krista Gerlich found out that Chuck's got her back, and he was ready to defend her honor.
I just was trying to see what was going on. That's it.
All right, I'm going to go to February 13th when the men's basketball team took down number 6 Texas at home, 74-67. That was a crazy fun night. I love being the Longhorns in basketball, so I thought that was awesome. And that was during that stretch where you started to play some decent ball, where you had beaten number 13 Iowa State, you had beaten number 12 Kansas State, you had beaten Texas and Oklahoma. So you were playing good basketball there and making it a little bit fun. And after a really, really disappointing start to Big 12 play, obviously. Number 2 on my list would be March 31st when you trailed TCU 8-0 after the top of the second on a Friday night and came back to win 20-16.
Yeah.
Your Friday night pitchers duel in the Big 12 conference. That was a blast. Haxton lost his voice over it. Almost.
I was looking at that game, and also the 10-5 series clincher on that Sunday against TCU was on my list for.
Yeah, that was just such an odd one because, again, it was a Friday night. You expect good pitching and all that. Red Raiders scored 9 in the 7th to take control of that game after giving up 4 in the top of the 7th.
Yes.
It was crazy.
Is it crazy? It was. Yeah. Crazy game. It's a crazy game. All right, so if you want to share yours, you can on the excuse me, Yates Flooring Center chat line.
And any remedies for Chuck.
Yeah, I just had a little frog in my throat.
We'll take those on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, too.
Go to double T973.com or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open, too. Somebody says this, Centex Hank says this, easy peasy, the soccer team's season, that was a major win. Yeah, no doubt.
Somebody mentioned the game at UT that you won
right.
At the buzzer. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I was just trying to come up with one that was maybe that I had attended or seen, or I didn't see the I mean, I was aware of it. I just didn't see that soccer game that night. So, all right. So that was a nice little question. Shelley says this: you have the remedy, Jeff. Go get your desk potion for Chuckles.
I don't think Chuck's ever had it.
What is it?
It's the friendship tea, spice tea, Russian tea, whatever you want to call it. And everybody that ever has it always says the same thing. Holy cow, I feel so much better. I never would have thought of this.
Yeah, no, I just had a little roughness there for a second.
Yeah, again, I don't think Chuck's ever had it.
Yeah, no, I've never been offered it.
It is available to everybody in this building.
Okay.
Chuck.
I was unaware. Bullfighter says May 19th, 2023, Bullfighter beat Snead in foul pole race and Tech beat Kansas in baseball. Okay.
And that's probably why, right, because of that race is probably why Snead had to have surgery yesterday. So, yeah, I hope you feel real good about yourself, Bullfighter.
He does.
That's right. Well, just kind of looking back at this basketball season, you're like, ooh, last year, kind of rough. I mean, that's obvious, right?
You think?
It's just rough. I did. Yeah, it was just rough.
I'm really surprised, and this is a compliment to Coach McCaslin. I didn't think that I would, I mean, just being honest, I didn't think I would come back to have that much interest in Tech basketball after last season. Okay. And I'm thoroughly interested in this team. I would say the Lady Raiders too. I'm excited for the potential for both of them, but I don't know. I I just feel this team makes me feel so much different than last year's team did. Last year's team was just all about drama and all about me guys and terrible. But this year's team, I love how they seem to play together and get along, and that's nice to see.
Yeah. It is. 7:40 this morning on the Morning Drive. Boom, boom, boom is next. A reminder, tonight we'll have Thursday Night Football. The Steelers playing at home against the New England Patriots. Broadcast time 6:30, play-by-play about 7:15 or so. And then tomorrow night we'll have the Friendship Girls. They take on New Home. That should be a good game, right? Friendship Girls and New Home?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. But I would expect the Tigers to
pull it out
to handle that one.
And then Army-Navy on Saturday. We'll have that on 100.7.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
With Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. We come to you this morning from the First United Bank studio, and we have with us on the Visual Edge IT hotline the head football coach at Texas Tech, Joey McGuire. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for spending a little time with us. Coach, as you've looked at the postmortem over the last 2 or 3 weeks for your football program and your team, and you assess this season, aside from the injuries, did anything stand out to you like, oh, okay, so that's kind of what we need to work on, or that's an area that was a common denominator for what took place this season?
Well, I think whenever you look at our numbers as far as like sacks given up, we improved dramatically from last year. If you give like stuff like that, but I still think that we've got to continue to improve in the O-line. We're excited about our young guys, man. I mean, we got 4 young guys that have been on campus, one for almost a full year in Caden Carr. And, man, those guys are growing up. I mean, Danny Seals had his best week of practice since he's been here. But we got to continue to get better there. And that's a big part. And, I blame myself a lot. 3 games that really bother me. One, not as much as the others, just because of the injuries. But, the Wyoming game and the West Virginia game, I think, we were still in the mode of what we thought we were going to be. It felt good coming out of spring, felt good coming out of fall camp, that we were going to be more, like last year, where we were going to throw the ball around, run the ball when we needed to. And that's really not what we could do. I mean, we didn't play very well in some positions. And the one dude that played, and he's been consistent all year long, is the 3rd leading rusher in the country. And, and so if I could go back and do it all over again, whenever we kind of got in that dogfight against Wyoming, and then, the last couple of series against West Virginia, I might have given him the ball every snap. I mean, he's, and so stuff like that you got to continue to learn from, that, that's been a big emphasis in this building is, identifying exactly who we are, and let's just go be that. I mean, there's other things that you want to be, but, as it goes, as a team, this is who you are. And I think it's why we're in a bowl game, because we identified that. I wish we'd have done that. And then the other game, of course, is the BYU game. I'm really frustrated with the turnovers and back-to-back turnovers on a 4th down, and then them for a touchdown on zone read that, shouldn't happen. And so that's really frustrating.
Coach, you mentioned the offensive line there, and you've lost some guys to the portal now. And then the wide receiver position, too, where you've lost a few guys at the wide receiver position to the portal as well. How difficult has the portal made it for teams to compete in a bowl game when you're losing key guys before you even get to start practicing for that bowl game?
Well, the one thing with us, I mean, we have our meetings and we meet throughout the year. And so there's nobody that's gone in that, we didn't expect, through talking to the player, them, telling us, hey, I want a better opportunity. I want more targets, whatever it is. And so we always, have a contingency plan of, what. And it's like, we've had 2 really good days of practice. I mean, I've loved the energy. And I was talking to my son this morning whenever I was driving in, and I said, for example, Ty Buchanan is going to start at left tackle, and he's fired up, and so there's an opportunity there for him. I really want him to play right tackle next year. He's more comfortable there, but right now he's going to get some playing time at left tackle. I mean, Jordan Brown has started games for us, and so he's going to start at outside receiver. And so, you know, those guys are excited. They kind of bring a different energy because, you know, they're hungry. It's kind of their opportunity to be on the field and do some special things. And so I think it definitely can be difficult. I know there's probably some people. I mean, we're really lucky, unlike some guys. I mean, we're going in the game and we have our quarterbacks that we've had, you know, since West Virginia. And I know there's some teams out there that are probably wondering who's going to play quarterback, or they have one left on their roster.
Coach, speaking of quarterback, first, Baron Morton, how's his health, and kind of where do you think he'll be close to 100? And then will you add a quarterback from the portal for next year?
Yeah, so he would tell you that it's as close as 100% as it has been, you know, and so we're off today. We practiced. We're going 2 days on and 1 day off, 2 days on, so we'll practice again Friday. And, yeah, he's looked totally different, and I think that will continue to improve. I think he'll be as close as he can be. I think it's going to take until spring football to really let him, you know, relax and you know, get his arm back to exactly where his shoulder really where it's going to be. But I'm fired up. I can't wait to watch him play. What we're looking at right now, you know, because it's kind of we're going to have you know, Jake Strong's on campus with us, and you know, I can't talk about the next one, but you know, of course, we got signing day coming up, and so we're looking to add like an older walk on, somebody that has played, somebody that, you know, has been in games, whether it's been at the FCS level. You know, that's the one thing that going back, I mean, who would have known I'd play 3 quarterbacks my first 2 years? I mean, I would have bet you a lot of money that would never happen. And so to be in that BYU game and your backup quarterback is Brady Boyd, your receiver, you know, that you're just kind of, that's the hand you're dealt, and you just got to roll with it. But, you know, we turned the ball over 5 times during that game and could have had a different game plan maybe if we had 2 quarterbacks. And so we're going to add a guy that's an older guy, you know, and that's what they're looking at. You know, right now, I'm telling you, if you're looking and you see who's coming on campus and all that stuff, I mean, we got people coming on campus from today till Tuesday. Getting the O-line right is our number one priority. And so we've got some guys coming in like that. And then, you know, we want to add another receiver. We want to add, you know, we have one, would like to add another tight end, stuff like that. And then just looking for the best player available. But that's not where we're going to live. I mean, we're signing 22. I think we're going to sign 22 high school kids. And so we're going to be somewhere probably around 10 guys that are coming out of the portal.
All right, Coach, we have about 60 seconds left. What, you know, a lot of guys that are heading to the draft or preparing for the draft decide not to play in bowl games. Is your expectation that Taj Brooks will play in this bowl game for you guys?
Oh, yeah, he's ready to roll, man. He's had 2 really good practices, and so, you know, look good, feels great. I mean, you're talking about a kid that's just an absolute pro, and, you know, he's got a decision to make if he comes back or if he comes out. And I think if he comes back, then I think the Red Raider Nation is going to celebrate that because, man, that dude is really special.
No doubt.
All right, Coach, thanks very much. Thanks for your time. That's Joey McGuire with us here on the Visual Edge IT Hotline.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.